Are you wanting to set up as a virtual assistant, but you've just got no idea what to charge? If so, do not worry, you are not alone, and this is what this video is all about. Welcome to the No BS VA Guide. My name is Dion, and I help amazing women just like you to set up successful and sustainable virtual assistant businesses. So if you haven't already subscribed yet, make sure you do so to get weekly videos where I'm going to be giving you all of my best tips and tricks to become the best virtual assistant you can be. So deciding that you want to set up as a virtual assistant is one thing, but knowing what and how much to charge is a completely different ballgame. And this is what this video is going to help you with today. So first of all, there are different ways in which you can charge. So we're going to go through those. And secondly, which is obviously the most important thing, we're going to go through how much you should charge. Okay, so there are three main ways to charge as a virtual assistant. So I'm going to discuss each of those ways as well as the pros and cons of each of them, and I'm going to leave it up to you to decide which way is going to be best for you and your business. So the first and most basic way to charge as a virtual assistant is by the hour. Now, this is where you will charge as and when the work comes in, and you will then invoice your clients at the end of the month or after a task has been completed. So this can be a great way to charge if you're just starting out as a virtual assistant and you haven't got a clue how long tasks are going to take. Also, if you don't mind working ad hoc and you don't mind your hours fluctuating, then by all means charge this way. Now, if you're looking for some more stability in your business, this way probably isn't going to be the best way for you because work can really fluctuate. You might have clients that give you 10 hours of work in 1 week and then they give you nothing for a few weeks. So charging this way means that clients aren't tied in at anything and your work can really go up and down. Now, this obviously means that you're not going to have a clue how much you're getting from month to month. So if you do start out charging this way, as soon as you start to get a little bit busier, I would highly recommend you move on to the next way, which is the retainer. So with the retainer model, you are still swapping dollars for time. There is still going to be a ceiling to how much you can earn if you're doing all of the work yourself. But it is so much easier to plan your days and your weeks in advance because you know how many hours you're going to be doing that week, and it's also easier to know how much money you're going to be getting each month. Now, the way the retainer model works, or the way it works best, is if you charge your clients in advance. So let's say they want 3 hours a week or 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week. So you would discuss that in your discovery calls and you would then invoice them in advance, and it is then up to the client to make sure that they use those hours each and every month. And if they don't use those hours, then, I mean, to be honest, it's tough. Now, you can roll over hours each month. It's your business. It's completely up to you what you do. But just be careful, and I would highly recommend you have a limit on this if you do want to do this. Because let's say you have a client who signs up to 10 hours a week, so that's 40 hours per month. So you've got a client who signed up to that, but they haven't used 15 of those hours. So you have to roll them over into next month. And then next month they don't use 10 of those hours, and you've got a few clients who just keep rolling hours over and over and over. Before you know it, you could have hundreds of hours per month, and if that client is suddenly incredibly busy, now you could end up working, say, 100 hours in a week, and that's just crazy. So if you do go with the retainer way, I would at least have a limit as to how many hours a client can roll over per month. So the third way you can charge for your services is by packages. Now, the best thing about charging in packages by far is that you don't actually get penalized the faster you become, because you're actually selling on value, not time. So if you're charging with packages, you would be getting paid the same each and every month, regardless of how long a task takes you. So say, for instance, you are writing podcast show notes for a client, and that is your package. If the show notes take you 1 hour to write 1 week and then half an hour to write the next week, it doesn't matter. You are not going to be getting penalized for the time it takes you half an hour. So the obvious con to charging in packages is that they obviously exclude certain services. Let's go back to the show notes client. So a client is paying you a certain amount of money per month in order to write 4 lots of show notes per month. But one week he decides that he could actually really use some help with his social media management. So it's up to you to decide what to do with that, because that is not included in the original package. So you've got a couple of options. You can either include them in the package and take off, say, 1 set of show notes, or you could charge him extra on an ad hoc basis. So if you do decide to charge by packages, I would definitely recommend that you make it clear on your website that you can also charge extra for ad hoc hours as well, because what you don't want to do is put clients off, which can and has happened in the past if they think they can't get another service. Now, obviously, if you are seen as the biggest expert in the world for podcast management and show notes, I wouldn't worry about this. But if you can and you do want to continue offering extra services, then I would definitely make it clear on your website that you do so that you don't put people off. Alright, so now for the main event. How much are you actually going to charge as a virtual assistant? Now, first of all, remember, this is your business. You're self-employed, so everything is your responsibility, including taxes, including paying for your equipment, for your business insurance. Every single benefit you get when you're employed, you do not get when you have your own business. This includes pension, sick pay, maternity, all of that is gone when it's your business. So make sure this is going to be worth your while. If you are going to be much worse off, what's the point? So let's say you're getting paid $10 an hour as an employee. Do not charge that as a virtual assistant, because as an employee, all of the benefits you get, you do not get as a virtual assistant. So if you think about it, you're actually getting paid a hell of a lot less than $10 an hour. And don't forget, just like every other business owner, virtual assistants have overheads too. This includes all of your equipment, like your laptop, which could break at any time. Even if you've got the best laptop in the world, it will break at some point. And when that happens, your employer isn't going to pay for another one because, well, guess what? You haven't got one. And it's also the same with your business insurance as well. It's up to you to pay that. You're also going to be working from home, so your electricity bills are probably going to increase. All of this you are going to be covering for, you are responsible for. So the hourly rate of a virtual assistant does tend to be quite a lot higher than an employee, and it's for these exact reasons. Another thing to remember is that you also have to do your own admin and marketing, and these are unpaid hours. So let's say you are a full-time virtual assistant. That doesn't mean that you do 40 hours of virtual assistant work for client work, because then you also have to do your own admin and marketing on top of that, which say is another 10 hours a week. You don't want to be working 50 hours a week. That's not why we got into business. So let's say out of those 40 hours in total you work, 30 of those are client work and the other 10 is your own admin and marketing. Those 10 hours are actually unpaid. So you want to make sure that with those 30 hours of client work you're doing, it's going to be worth your while, and it's going to ensure that you can survive and thrive. So how much you can charge will also depend on a few other things, like your skill set. Obviously, the more highly skilled you are, the higher you can charge. If you're just a general virtual assistant who does very, very basic tasks, someone who is highly skilled at, say, podcast management, I keep going back to that, but someone who is highly skilled at podcast management is probably going to be able to charge quite a bit more than you because their skill set is a lot higher. Also, if you are highly in demand, if you are getting people basically banging down your door to hire you, then it's time to raise your prices. And finally, where you live will also affect how much you can charge as a virtual assistant. Let's say you are based in the USA. If you are charging $5 per hour for your services, you are not going to be able to survive on that. But if you're in a country where the cost of living is considerably lower, then that might actually be doable. So if you're really unsure on how much to charge, one of the first things I would recommend you do is find out the average rate of a virtual assistant in your country or in your state and base yourself around that. So for example, the average hourly rate of a virtual assistant in the United Kingdom is around £27 per hour. So a good starting point for you could be anywhere between £20 and £30 an hour. Obviously, if you're very basic, if you don't have a lot of skills at all, I would probably start at the lower end of the scale and then work your way up as you get busier. And you can actually raise your prices for each and every client. So I hope this video has given you a better idea of how and what to charge your clients. If you do have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next week in the next video.